Good morning, my name is Fred Reitmeyer. I'm here to talk about ducks and decoy carving and duck hunting.
How you guys doing? I'm Tanner Holcomb, grandson of Fred Reitmeyer, and this is my Barnegat Bay sneakbox.
Tanner's putting out some decoys, mostly black ducks and bufflehead. They were two of the most common ducks in the bay. And the one duck my grandfather made, so there's 3 generations of decoys that he's putting out. Some of the ducks here are carved by my son Bob.
Hello there.
Part of my heritage, I learned decoy carving from my grandfather, named Carl Adams, who's a well-known boat builder. Most of his boats were 20 to 40 feet, but sometimes when his boat works was too cold in the winter, he would build seat boxes in the basement. I own 2 of his seat boxes. Again, through my grandfather's heritage, I learned to carve. I have a decoy here which represents what we call the Barnegat Bay style carving, where our decoys are made in 2 halves with a clamshell. The inside is hollowed out to make them lighter, more buoyant, more visible in the water when you're duck hunting. Now in the old days, people hunted ducks to feed the family. Today it's more of a fun time, but hard work. But in the old days, when you went duck hunting, if you didn't bring home any ducks for dinner, you didn't have any meat for dinner. So duck hunting was very important, a way to feed the family. Again, this represents the Barnegat Bay style carving, where ducks are made in 2 halves. The head sits on, we call it a pedestal neck, kind of sticks up on top of the duck. And then the tail, we call a paddle tail, so it's kind of shaped like a paddle. And we also put lead in the bottom as ballast, keep it upright and level. And this particular duck was made by a man named Joe King, who died in 1913. So this is more than 100 years old. I found it out in the meadows years ago, walking creeks. Now, the first step in making a decoy is to use the bandsaw, preferably, to cut out the shape of the body. And the head is always separate. Look down at the top view, you see how it's shaped with the tail back here, and the head will be up here. The next step then, after it's carved, is to finish the bird ready for painting. Now this is a mallard decoy. You can see there's white stuff here. That's a fiberglass putty I use to hide the seam. And I also put lead inside so I can glue the collar. This is the middle step where it's carved, ready to be painted. And this is the finished product. It's a male or a great mallard. We go out early in the morning, hunt for a few hours. Then when ducks stop flying, we go home and take a nap. Then come back in the afternoon and hunt until sunset.
So what he would typically do is lay prone in the sneak box as he's trying to get in there with his head up against, say, the bow of the boat, so that his head would not be seen by ducks flying over him, and allow himself in a shooting position to face the decoys.
He's got a backrest and a cushion, and it can be fairly comfortable. When you got out duck hunting early in the morning and it's kind of quiet, it's easy to fall asleep.
The whole point of a sneakbox is so that the ducks are getting as close as they possibly can before you shoot them. Now, when you're hunting out of, say, a boat of a different type, you're more or less shooting them as we call pass-by shooting. They're not necessarily going to land. With the sneakbox, they're looking to land. So as soon as you see their wings lock up and their feet go down as if they're going to touch the water to land, that's when what we do now is we yell like, take them, shoot them. And that's when, say, if we have 2 people hunting together, or by myself, I don't have to call a shot, but that's when you would take the shot at the bird, because that's when you have the best shot to get the bird.
My grandfather, as a boy, during the winter when he was too cold to work in the boat works, he was a market hunter, and they would put him in barrels and sell them to restaurants. Now that was the market. And at one time, again, when they were market hunting, the family had a shack out in the meadows between Brigantine and Great Bay, an area called Main Marsh. And they would go out there, and sometimes it was colder then. They would get iced in. They'd have to stay there for maybe a week or 2 until the ice broke and they could get out. And another story that he used to talk about was live decoys. In the Parker building, there's a picture of a man holding a goose in his lap. And they used to train geese, Canada geese, and mallards to call in the wild ducks. And it worked so well that in the late 1930s, the government outlawed the use of live decoys. You notice that our decoys are all quite smooth without any feather or wing carving, because when you're out in the bay, you get a lot of mud on your hands, and then the mud gets on the ducks, the decoys, and detracts from the appearance. And that's one trouble with plastic decoys, with wings and feathers and all. You have to clean them off periodically so they look natural. But most people like cheaper to buy plastic.
And a lot of times with the plastic decoys, even though they make the species, they don't make hen, which would be the female of the species. So, like, my whole rig, I have over 350 decoys that I hunt over every year, varying from puddle ducks to sea ducks to diving ducks. But especially with the diver ducks, they don't make a lot of the species in female. So like bufflehead, I have 24 bufflehead, every single one of them is a drake, which is a male, because they don't make a hen bufflehead. They do make female bluebills or broadbills, as depends who you talk to, but they don't look as realistic as, say, the drake version. And you only get about 1 or 2 hens per pack of 6 decoys as well. So a lot of times it is better to hunt over homemade decoys, depending on what you're hunting over, because of being able to make your spread stick out to the birds for what they want to land with.
And I bought my duck ball. A lot of times when we're out duck hunting, we use duck ball to attract the ducks to us. Just kind of imagine all our decoys are in the water, they look real nice, but the ducks are all flying around, but they don't come down to us. So in order to make it seem more logical, we use a duck ball. This is one that's the most easiest to use. If I were recommending spending a duck ball for a young duck hunter, it would be something like this, where you just pull back and then quack. Now there's a couple different calls that we use. The duck is kind of far away. Usually we call it hailing call, where several loud quacks, that's louder in the beginning and then kind of gets quieter. We do that to try to get the duck's attention. They start to come toward us, then we use feeding call, which is like this. Again, it's the idea that the ducks think there's food down there or safety, and they come down to see what's happening. Now, another kind of a duck call would be the kind you blow into. Again, the idea that well, the ducks get close and they see you, you're decoyed, and come down to feed.
So your daily limit is 6 birds, and within that limit there's sub limits for each species. On a good day you get your limit. On a bad day you either don't get anything, or you might get 1 black duck or 2 black ducks. A good day you'll get the pintail, which that's like the holy grail of the puddle ducks, or you might get a couple mallards, a couple black ducks, pintail, maybe some shovelers. You get that. That would be a good day. But on a bad day, you're just out there enjoying the views.
Your grandfather is Adams.
Right.
Then you carve. You taught your daughter to carve, right?
Yep.
And your son.
And other son
And
too.
your 2 sons.
But Bobby's much more active than my younger son John.
Right.